Hello, my dear friends. Hello, my dear listeners. How are you all? I wish that you are doing best in your own condition to serve your duty with utmost honesty and love. So, let's start a new story from the book Bengal Fairy Tales, written by Francis Bradley-Birt, and this book was illustrated by Abanindranath Thakur. It was first published in the year 1920, and this book was published in London by John Lane, the Bodley Head, and in New York by John Lane Company. So, till now, we know that this book has three different parts, and we are reading from the first part. So, today we are going to start a new story, The Four Swindlers. So, let's proceed. Once in a certain country, there was a king who was on terms of intimate friendship with his prime minister, the chief merchant, and the kotal. Each of them had a son, and the four young men were great friends. They were very intelligent and learned, and being desirous of completing their education by traveling, they started on an auspicious day for foreign countries. Reaching the kingdom nearest to their own, they heard of its king's fame for justice and of his keen insight in dispensing it. Being curious to prove the correctness of the report, they resolved to enter his kingdom in disguise, carry on a series of swindles, and see how he detected and punished them. There was a river on the outskirts of his dominions, which had to be crossed before entering them. The young men, on reaching it, found a boy in charge of the ferry boat. They got into it as passengers and, on inquiry, learnt from him that his father had just gone home to snatch a hasty meal and that he was acting for him. This knowledge was fully utilized by them. They crossed the river and, on landing, each gave the boy a kori, which was not a current coin. He, as was natural, refused to take these as his remuneration, whereupon the four friends said, "Well, you say your house is on the road which we shall have to pass. Come with us, and when we are near your house, you may call out to your father that we have given you four bad koris. If he protests against it, you may compel us to pay you to your satisfaction." The boy agreed to this, and when they came near his home, cried out, "Father, four men have crossed the river and paid me four bad koris." The intimation was so ambiguously worded, according to the dictation of the friends, that the ferryman understood that in the queries his son had received there were four that were bad, and so he thought little of the matter. But when he came to the ghat and learned from his son the whole story, he found that he had been imposed upon, and he instantly reported the matter to the king so that he might know of the arrival of swindlers within his dominions. The friends, having proceeded farther, saw a confectioner's shop, and finding there a man acting as its master, whose very features betrayed that he was a first class idiot, they proposed to play a trick on him, similar to that which they had played upon the ferryman's son. Entering the shop, they ordered some good shandesh, a kind of milk based sweet, and ate as much of it as they could. Then, in the course of their conversation with the man, they learned that not he but his brother Jaggu, who was then absent, was the owner of the shop. Hearing the name, they said that Jaggu was their old friend and pretended great sorrow at not being in time to meet him. When the man in the shop asked their names, they said they were known as machis. Machis means flies. The conversation Having come to an end, they got up from their seats and were about to leave when they were asked for the price of the sweetmeats. At this they burst into a laugh, patted the man on the back, and said, "You are Jaggu's younger brother, and so ours, and we bless you from our hearts. If our friend were here, he would not let us depart so soon, but would force us to be his guests for weeks and weeks. To spare you reproaches from him, we do not like to pay you anything, for if he learns on returning that you have taken money for the sweetmeats supplied to his beloved Machis, he will be very cross with you. Give him our best love and say that we intend seeing him on our return." The poor deluded man on his brother's arrival home, found that he had been cheated. The village chowkidar was informed of the swindle, and he, of course, reported the matter to his superiors and they to the king. It was manifest, therefore, to the people of the capital that swindlers had found their way into the kingdom, and the king instructed the police to be on the alert. The friends had in the meantime reached the capital and were making preparations to begin swindling on a grand scale. They had cheated two men, the ferryman and the confectioner, who were illiterate and stupid, but that was nothing in comparison with what they were meditating. At the chief seat of government, the four foremost families were the kings, the prime ministers, the chief merchants, and the Kotals, and these they selected as their intended victims. Each of the friends was to practice his art of deception on the family of equal rank to his own. In a short time, they became masters of the secrets of these families and began their work, each taking his turn. So, my dear friends, today I am stopping here. Tomorrow we are going to explore what happened next. So, till then, be happy, be healthy, be jolly. Shubhamastu.